Hello, my name is Ellie Tennant. If you didn't guess by my shirt and the wall behind me, I am a Crystal Palace fan. Welcome to episode 2 of Eagle Eyed View. It is a series that I've created where I'll be talking to a member of Fanalysis from our opposing team we are facing in the upcoming week. This weekend we are heading to Villa Park to play Aston Villa. Today I'm joined with Gary from Everybody Podcast. How are you doing today, Gary?
I'm very well, thank you, Ellie. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Thank you for coming. Let's get started. Obviously, we're very early into the season. Only one game week has been played. But how do you feel Villa started the season?
Well, I'm not going to lie, Ellie. I was disappointed with our opening day performance, and but happy with the result because all things considered, obviously we got reduced to 10 men, and we managed to hang on for a point. And against Newcastle, who no doubt will be up there at the end of the season, I'll take it. It means that we've now gone 22 games unbeaten at Villa Park in all competitions. And now, obviously, after this weekend's fixtures, we welcome your arrival. Now, it's fair to say that Crystal Palace are our bogey side. Last season, I've got nightmares about playing you guys in all competitions, and I really hope that we try something a little bit different when you come to Villa Park this time, because otherwise it's the definition of insanity. We did it last season against you. We set up the same way, and you absolutely destroyed us in every game. And it left me going, right, I want to sign Mateta, I want to sign Eze, I want to sign Adam Wharton, and I want Sarr all in my team, because the work rate and energy these guys show, we're just second to none.
Well, that leads me perfectly onto my next question. If you had to pick one Palace player you're most scared about this weekend, who would it be?
Well, for me, it's Mateta. And my reasoning behind that is quite simple, really. He has absolutely bullied our defence every time he's played against us. Now, I think a lot of that is Unai Emery's decision to play Pau Torres in our back four, and I think Mateta's looked at Torres and gone, I am going to eat you for breakfast. I have to say, by the way, Mateta is one of the biggest humans I've ever seen in my life. Like, where I sit at Villa Park, he's only 8 rows from the pitch, right? So he came over to buy the touchline, and I just remember going, like, almost looking up at him, like, he's taller than 8 rows. I was like, God, he's as high as he is wide, but he's an absolute baller. Like, he's got all the attributes, and we've spent a lot of time on our podcast talking about what potential signing would you like, because obviously we had a lot of speculation about Ollie Watkins going to Man United, and I was like, get Mateta in. Let's do everything we need to get this guy in, because he's a proper centre forward. So yeah, he's the one for me that can really bully our defence. And if we, like I say, if Emery decides to go with Pau Torres against you guys, I'm gonna be frustrated.
I feel like in his first season with us, he wasn't that good, but last season he was just a completely different player.
Yeah, I think that come down to the form. Well, I mean, even going back to when you had Elise, that you finished the season so strongly. I think you obviously hammered us 5-0 at Selhurst Park on the last day of the season when we had qualified for the Champions League. But you'd gone like 8 or 9 games unbeaten, I think, at the end of that 23-24 season. And you looked the best side in the Premier League. And it was between, I think, Mateta really benefited from Eze and Elise. You know, strikers thrive on service, right? And when you've got 2 players of that quality, then you're going to score goals. And I think once a striker has confidence, it makes a massive difference. And you know, he just, like I say, he's just, for what I've seen of you guys, he's just bullying people. And now you've still got. I mean, I think you were unlucky last year that Adam Wharton was injured for quite a chunk of your season. But when he came back, my word, that guy is an absolute sensational footballer. He really is. I love how he keeps things so simple and direct. It's almost indefendable at times, and he just brings those players into play that can damage people, like Sarr, Mateta, Eze. They just get that freedom to play, and they can do damage. You know, I think you guys were incredibly unlucky at last weekend against Chelsea to be, well, let's face it, robbed.
Yeah.
VAR does its magical thing of this 1 yard rule. And no doubt this time next week you'll see 1,000 free kicks taken that won't be pulled up on that rule. So it's incredibly frustrating, isn't it? But yeah, that's where we're at, I suppose.
They literally, after the match, they showed an example of Chelsea last season having a free kick exactly the same, and it was given. It literally makes no sense. It's so frustrating.
I mean, it's probably a different podcast, isn't it? But I mean, VAR already in the opening day of the season has had a bag of controversy already. It's ruining football for us fans, really, isn't it? Because
100%.
I don't know about you, you can't celebrate goals, you can't, it's sucking the joy out of it. And don't get me wrong, I think VAR has a place in football if it's used correctly.
Yeah.
It's this human error that people are looking at stuff and that they don't need to be looking at. Like it's just ridiculous. And then you end up with controversial decisions. Like I'm sure Everton fans will be absolutely angered with their penalty decision against Leeds. Like, because there's discrepancy in the handball thing, that there's an incident in Bournemouth, Liverpool. Like you could just there's so many examples, and you go, oh my God, like just go back to the referee. Let's have human error kind of dictate what's going on, rather than still have video footage and still get it wrong. Because obviously, it's supposed to come to the correct decision. But like I say, we could probably talk all day about that, so I won't.
100%. Who is the one player from your team we should be fearful of?
This is a good one. So he's just won PFA Young Player of the Year. I don't know if you saw that last night. So it has to be Morgan Rogers. And similar to Eze for you, if we utilise him correctly, he's got the ability and the talent to cause problems for any team. I don't know how much you saw of our game against Newcastle. Obviously, we're short on clientele at the moment because of PSR, and we're trying to get clear out. Leon Bailey's just gone out on loan to Roma, but it meant on Saturday that Rodgers played wide left, and he's more devastating in the middle. And I just worry that if you can push him out to the left, you nullify his effect in the game. But again, if he plays centrally and we can feed him those passes, he's devastating because he just runs through people, and he's got the ability to pick a pass and he can score goals. So he's the one that will probably cause you the most problems if we can utilise him correctly.
Perfect. What's your opinion on Jacob Ramsey going to Newcastle?
I'm not going to lie. I am 45 years young, Ellie, and I've watched Jacob Ramsey come through as an academy product. Have seen his brother at games, have seen him at games in the away stand. Like, he's a Villa fan, and I think I don't know if you've seen all the comments on social media from the Villa squad, John McGinn and Tyrone Mings in particular, kind of going, we don't want to hear any disdain against his name, like you don't know the half of it. And it says to me that we've been forced to make that sale because it balances the books. I don't think JJ wanted to leave. We offered him an improved deal, but we couldn't probably offer him as much as we wanted to because it's this SCR nonsense, this squad cost ratio that we've got to get down. And he is a prime target for that because he's being an academy product and he's pure profit. So I've got a head and a heart answer to that question. Is that my head says it's a great bit of business, £43 million with add-ons. It's pure profit for the club. It means that we potentially could probably look at getting one more signing in before the window closes because it balances the books. We won't go over that wage thing again. But my heart as a fan, I'm devastated because he's one of our own. And I mean, he's been injured for the last couple of seasons. He broke his foot on international duty for the under-21s, and he was out for a while. He came back, same injury again, and so he hasn't really been a starter for us. And I think he's only scored 2 goals and had 5 assists in the last 2 seasons, which isn't massive numbers. However, again, as a fan watching him come through the academy, he's much more than that, and the stats don't really back it up. Like his ball carrying ability, his ability to actually pick a pass, similar to what Adam Morton does, but in a more attack in the final third. He moves the ball quickly. He can score goals, and a fully fit Jacob Ramsey for me will play in any Premier League team. And so I really was hoping that this season could be his season for us.
Mm.
And he just, I think he's been forced out. And I hate PSR and I hate SCR because I understand why it's there to stop clubs spending big. But let's be honest, the big Cartel Six have got away with absolute blue murder, spent whatever they want. And clubs like yours, ours, Newcastle, just are so restricted. And we've got owners that want to spend money, can spend money, and can't. And therefore, now we're losing players. And for me, we've just weakened our squad by selling Jacob Ramsey. So, because it may well be that we don't bring in somebody else as well, and we've just going to have to consolidate and try and do with what we've got. And if that's the case, I think we're going to have a really difficult season, but we'll have to wait and see.
It always hurts more when it's one of your own as well.
Oh, 100%. I mean, when Jack Grealish left, that was hard because same sort of thing. But, you know, with the money that was being offered, and I think Jack had already come close to leaving a couple of seasons prior. So I was almost ready for Grealish leaving. But this hurts more for me because it feels like we're being forced to do it, you know, and that it's not fair.
No, it's not fair.
In a word.
It's not fair. Okay, so what is your opinion on Palace and their fan base?
Well, I have to say, right, we've been doing our podcast about 8 months now. Every week we follow, and in the games that we've covered at Crystal Palace, I've loved the interaction with Palace fans. I was at Selhurst Park when you hammered us 4-1 last season. Not a pleasant trip down to London for an evening game, but I've got to admit that the interaction we've had with Palace fans on the channel has been superb, really kind of productive, sensible debates, not kind of the hatred that you see on X and various other platforms. And basically, as a fan base, you've got those ultras that are unreal, if I'm honest. And I think my best example of that is the FA Cup semi-final. I got really annoyed at that. Not because you beat us, you were by far the better team and deserved the game completely. We set up all wrong against you and we should have done things differently. But when I got there, I just noticed that there was, as it got closer to kick-off, obviously all your ultra fans were behind the goal. The atmosphere was absolutely unreal. And there was just, all I could hear it was pockets of kind of Villa fans singing. Because what we didn't do, and I'm not saying this would have changed the game, but you want kind of, away end and home end, where all of our hardcore fans sit in the whole end of Villa Park, right? That's where all the noise comes from. It's the biggest stand at the ground, and that's where it comes from. But we clearly didn't settle behind the goal to those fans. That's what should have happened. So what we ended up with was just pockets of fans all around, and it felt like we had no atmosphere. And so I'm looking at you guys with this wall of TiVos and just flares and drums and all that kind of stuff. It makes, on those games, it makes a massive difference, doesn't it? I think you can be the 12th man, and fans can. So I've been incredibly impressed with Palace. I think everything that Glasner's done over the last couple of seasons has been steadily building. You've somehow managed to keep hold of these players that you've got, that core. You've got, I don't know what's going to happen with Guy for you guys. There's lots of speculation about him wanting to leave. And I think after the Chelsea game, he ignored Glasner, didn't he, after he was walking off the pitch? And I don't know if that's a sign. But if you were to keep him for the season, that core of Henderson in goal, Guy at the back, then you've got Adam Wharton in midfield, then you've got Eze, Mateta and Sarr. Just those players alone is a great spine. And you've proven that against the biggest teams, what you've done in the last 6 months is that you've turned up in the killer moments and got over the line, beating Man City in the FA Cup, beating Liverpool in the Charity Shield, should have won at Chelsea. These are great signs. He's a great manager, absolutely hammering us really when at the time, we're probably the informed side when we're facing. I spoke to a couple of Palace fans before the FA Cup semi-final and on the show, and they were like, God, we were a bit worried because we were in a run of form there. I think we'd won 7 games, and you were like, God, I think we're going to get beat. And then we just didn't turn up, and you absolutely handed us a new one. It was like, thanks very much, we'll see you. And so I've been really impressed with Palace, and I really hope that, begrudgingly, that we can get a win at Villa Park. Because, like I said, I'm holding on to the fact that we're 22 unbeaten. You didn't actually beat us in the league last year at Villa Park. It was a 2-2 draw. I think overall the stats are we've played 14 times at Villa Park. We've won 8. You've won 2. and we've drawn 4. So actually, our form at Villa Park is the one thing that's I'm holding on to. I think at this point, I'd take a draw, but what I'd like to see is Emery try something different, because clearly what we've tried to do against you in last season didn't work, and you exposed us massively. So I'm hoping that we change either our formation or at least the lineup to try and do something different. And hopefully we can get 3 points. So I always have these head and heart answers. My head is sensible, I'll take a draw. My heart's like, we need to win at home. That's what we need to do. So hopefully that will happen. No offence.
So it sounds to me that you think Eze will stay.
Well, I just think as you get closer and closer, obviously there's lots of speculation between Spurs and Arsenal for Eze. I just think sometimes I've been an admirer of Eze for so long, right? And I've watched lots of footage, lots of clips of him being interviewed and all that kind of stuff. And so if he's going to go, I think it will be a London-based team, because his whole family and connections seem to be. He spoke very intently about that like, you know, he's probably had offers to go to other clubs, i.e. Manchester, Liverpool, whatever, or even abroad. But I think he's very much a kind of rooted guy in London that wants to stay. You've got European football to offer him, right? You've got, I mean, by the way, that is a whole travesty that I just think it's wrong, completely wrong, right? You should be in the Europa League. I'm secretly glad that you're not, because we might have a chance of winning it. But you've got European football. I know it's only Conference League, and if I were the owners of Crystal Palace, I would be saying to Eze, look, just give us 1 more year, right? Play in Europe, right? Try and we're clearly competing at a high level. We could even finish high. Like, I think for me, Palace are going to be a surprise package this year, because I think it's all the bits are there, providing you keep that spine of your team. If you lose Guy or if you lose Eze, then it opens up a whole different kettle of worms. But I hope for football in terms, like when you look at the Isak situation at Newcastle, like, I just want, you know, footballers are human, and sometimes it doesn't have to always be about the money, and it doesn't have to be about kind of going to play for one of the big 6 or whatever it is, right? Because if he goes to Tottenham, if I was a Palace fan, I'd be absolutely I'd be fuming, because that's a sideways step. You know, I know that Spurs have got Thomas Frank in now, but I still think I think they'll struggle. I think Thomas Frank will struggle under the pressure at Spurs. They may well start well. They've started well against Burnley, fine. But I think as the pressure starts to mount with the Champions League and all, I don't think they've got the squad to deal with all of that. So I think they'll come off towards the thing. But whereas for you guys, you've built something over the last couple of seasons, and if you keep that going, I think you've proven in the last 3 weeks that you've played the top 3 teams and beaten 2 of them and should have beaten the other one if it weren't for a dodgy decision. So you're already in a run of form that is going. Yeah, they could do something this season easily.
It's a very exciting time to be a Palace fan.
Yeah,
but it's all down to these next few weeks. If we keep the players, I think we'll be okay.
Yeah. That's the key, isn't it? Like for any team, once you start building something, it's keeping those key players, and I really hope that you do for footballing's sake.
Yeah. So you mentioned that are you a season ticket holder?
Yes, I am.
Do you have any tips or must-dos for fans attending the game next weekend?
Yes, I would say getting to the ground is not ideal, if I'm honest, right? Because you've got to come out of the centre of Birmingham by, I think it's 2 miles or like that. So, and I'm not going to lie, I love my club, but it's not in the nicest of areas of Birmingham, Aston. And they shut off most of the roads around the ground, which makes it even harder to get to. But there are 2 train stations that are less than 5 minutes walk from Villa Park. You've got Aston and Whitton. Little tip is that Whitton, if you're coming by train, and you can get a train from Birmingham New Street to Aston and Whitton, they're on the same line. Whitton is actually the stop after Aston. I would recommend Whitton because it's slightly quieter than Aston. Most people go to Aston. However, if you have additional needs or are a wheelchair user, Aston is the better one because it does have lifts to the platforms of the station. So that's really useful. I would say that there are. We've got a new fan village, which is only popped up, I think, kind of towards the end of last season, which I think is open to everybody. From what I can tell, that they've got a home section, but I think there is a little bit where the away stand is, which is attached to the Doug Ellis stand. There is a little section as well for away fans that they set up, which is quite nice. I think. And if you are driving to Villa Park, they do have limited parking space on the day, but it's first come first serve. So I'd recommend public transport. Those are my hot tips.
I think I've been to Villa 3 times now.
Okay.
I've driven twice at the train once, and we went to Aston, and it was so busy.
Yeah. That is the only problem, because, like I say, the majority of fans after the game go to Aston Station, and it's absolutely overrun. What we tend to do, I only live 20 minutes from the ground anyway, half an hour max. So we drive in and we park a little bit further out on a side street, and there are lots of side streets that you can get parking on. But again, if you've got additional needs, they're not great because they are just residential streets. But there are plenty around Villa Park that you can park and just have a short 5-minute walk, and that's what we do, because it just means when you walk back to your car, you're not in the chaos of all the fans being around. You can get out pretty quickly. The other thing, the other thing you can do when attending Villa Park, and I know people do this, because it is only about a 20-25 minute walk from Birmingham New Street to Villa Park, and it's one road really that leads to Villa Park that you can get through. It's the A34, which is, again, it just depends on what. It's an evening game, and again, with the area it is, I wouldn't recommend doing that late in the evening. Daytime kickoff's not too bad because lots of people do it, but obviously they've moved the game now, haven't they? And it's now Sunday at 7 p.m, which isn't great for travelling fans, really, particularly if you're coming on public transport, because on a Sunday, I think the trains finish earlier. They're only every half an hour, and it's something that I know there's a fan consortium at Villa Park, and they've just managed to get 10 new people on a committee that's talking about infrastructure, and we are developing it. And I think Whitton Station's due to be developed, so it will be bigger. And I think if that gets done, the problem is there's been Birmingham City Council, because it's all about money and crossing T's and dotting I's and what, etc. But there's developments in place at Villa Park that hopefully in the next couple of seasons, if they get that sorted, will make it a hell of a lot easier. So fingers crossed. But this is all about us being successful, I think, and it's about us continuing that success, because it's been a problem for so many years, and now obviously our owners are really trying to do something about it. But we have to be competing at those higher echelons to be able to bring the money in to be able to afford to build that infrastructure. So we'll see what happens. But there are plans in place, and hopefully if they can do that, then it will make your trip to Villa Park a little bit easier.
Perfect. You have kind of answered this already, but can you give me a prediction for the match?
Yes. Okay. So again, I'm gonna. It's two answers because head and heart, as I said, right. But so my head will go 1-1, right. But my heart is going 2-0 Villa and a clean sheet. As a fan, I think that if we get our defensive setup correct, we are difficult to beat at Villa Park. So I'll tell my hot tip is, if Pau Torres starts the game, you will win. because he cannot deal with Mateta's pace, power. He's too slow. It's one of his weaknesses, and I think teams have started to work that out, and they did at the end of last season. He came back from a broken foot, and he just looked a mile off the pace. And it started in that semi-final where he was closed down, lost the ball, and all game Mateta just kind of absolutely demolished him. And so, if no doubt Mateta will be going, please let Pau Torres be playing. However, if you have to go up against Mings and Konza, they're defensively very solid. They're experienced. They played together for such a long time. I think that will hopefully nullify the threat that you've got with Mateta. I think we'll occupy him up. Obviously, you've got other players that can cause us problems and have with Eze and Sarr, but we'll see what happens with Eze, and if he's still there in a week's time.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
So thank you very much for your time. Where can my viewers find you?
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, so my friend and I, James, we run the Every Week We Follow podcast. We're on YouTube and TikTok and X and Instagram. Please go and check us out. We do weekly shows, we do preview shows for the games, and then we do a review show. And they usually come out on a Monday and a Thursday. And of course, we're on the Fanalysis app together. This is how this happens. So please go and check that out at fanalysis.com. We are fanlists, and we will be hopefully present within the social media world in the coming weeks. So yeah, please check us out.
Amazing. And did you want to mention the fundraiser you're doing?
Oh yeah, thank you, Ellie, for reminding me. Yeah, so I know this is a big ask, but on the channel we've started a fundraiser for Acorns Children's Hospice. It's a cause that's really close to my heart because we and my family have used Acorns for the last decade or so. My daughter Abby has muscular dystrophy, and so it's her last year at using Acorns because she's going into adult services. And what we'd really like is to give something back for all the support they've given us. So I've managed to get some signed merch, which is a signed football and some signed pictures of European 1982 winning team. And all you have to do is the link is in our bio on TikTok and on Instagram and everywhere. It's just giving page. You just donate £5, leave your name, and you'll go into the draw. And obviously that might not be interesting to any other rival fans, but you can always donate it back or raffle it off or whatever, or you can throw it in the bin. I don't know. It's one of those. But the money is going to a great cause, and like I say, it will help fund nurses and respite care and all that kind of stuff for families that really need it. So yeah, if you can, please, even if you can't donate, if you could just share the platform, so if you know any Villa fans or anything like that, that would be amazing. So thanks very much for letting me mention that, Ellie. I appreciate it.
I will leave the link in my description as well. Really.
Amazing. You're a star. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time, and I wish you the best of luck, but I hope we win.
Yeah, what's your prediction before we go?
I'm saying 2-0 Palace.
2-0 Palace.
Yeah.
It's easily doable with the threat that you've got and with the if we look at the form against us. So yes, good luck, but obviously I hope we win.